When I'm lonely in the dark, I know you are with me, yeah. Don't you see that I need you so much? Don't you see that I love you so much? Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love. Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love. When I'm lonely in the dark, I know you are with me, yeah. Don't you see that I need you so much? Don't you see that I love you so much? Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love. Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na.
Well, all right. Fade out the music, the thumping music that's coming in, and appreciate everybody joining. This is the Microsoft 365 AMA, where you can ask us anything about Microsoft 365 and the products and services therein. My name is Christian Buckley. I'm an Office Apps and Services MVP and Microsoft Regional Director and the Microsoft Go-to-Market Director at AvePoint. And we are live streaming across YouTube and Facebook. And if you have a question you would like us to tackle, please comment in one of those locations and we'll attempt to address it in real time. Again, I'll throw this up there so there's a disclaimer. I'll come back to the disclaimer in a minute. But other questions.
Got the disclaimer.
Yeah, still have the disclaimer. Other questions we've gathered from various community pages, mainly out of Facebook. There were a lot of questions from the Microsoft 365, the Teams, the Azure, and the SharePoint communities in Facebook, which have, of course, tens of thousands of members. So it's a great place to go. Other questions that have been pulled from unanswered questions in the Microsoft Tech community. But we're going to be going through as many as we can here, as well as covering a few items from the Microsoft Message Center, the updates that are out there. With that, let me introduce the rest of our panel today, and we might have I thought Shari was going to join us here, but we might have one or two people joining in late. But with us are Sean McDonough, consultant with Bitstream Foundry in Cincinnati, Ohio, and an Office Apps and Services MVP. Hal Hostetler, senior field engineer with Roland Shore and Tower in Tucson, Arizona, and an Office Apps and Services MVP. And Microsoft senior program manager, expert on all things SharePoint and Azure and anything else about Microsoft related that we want to complain about, Dr. Neil Hodgkinson. Hello.
We know who's getting the questions today, Neil.
How's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
Not too bad.
I'm on vacation for the next 2 weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. Back to the UK. So.
Oh, excellent! You're gonna be there. They're letting you into the country.
They are, yes. After I'm fully vaccinated, 3 proofs of non-infectious and all kinds of things going on.
And a note from your mom.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Signed in blood.
A third party's blood that's also been tested and cleared. Yes.
Yes.
Well, excellent. Well, thanks for everybody for joining. And as I mentioned, so Mike is not here today, who usually does the Message Center updates. So he has some other client stuff that happened kind of last minute. So I'm going to be trying to handle that. I've got a few items that I'll go through here. As I mentioned beforehand, our disclaimer. Let's put that on screen here. So no animals or children were of course, harmed during the live stream previously, and we strive to meet those high goals for every episode.
And if you think otherwise, you can't prove it.
Correct. It's, in the age of CGI, I mean, what can you prove about what actually happened? So that's true. And we have a tremendous CGI budget for this show. It's double the budget that we were last month. So yeah. And with that, so here's the brief, the Microsoft Message Center updates with. Does everybody know what I was going for with the creation of those visuals? It was if you guys even paid attention to like the banner, the imagery that I'm using there, I was going for like a Napoleon Dynamite-esque type thing with the lunch basket, the picnic basket on the table.
I've only seen parts of it. I know. Yet another one I have to watch.
It's a classic. It's an important American film. You have to watch the trilogy. You have to watch the trilogy to truly understand, which is Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre, and then Gentlemen Broncos. It's the dark third movie in the series that my wife, if I want her to leave the room, I can hit start on that movie, and she will get up and not talk to me for the rest of the day, and we'll go into the other room. Because there's some imagery, like a snake with bowel issues, and a dart that is put into human feces. There's some minor things that she has a problem with, artistically, with the film.
Sounds like a fantastic film.
I think it's hilarious. So yeah. Anyway, but with that, so Message Center update. So let me go through what I've prepared. Again, I won't have Mike's wit with the naming of the departments, but I'm going to try. So bear with me as I go through these. Or I should point out that as I joke every month that because he shares highlights, and obviously there's a ton of other Message Center updates that are in the system, and I always joke that there's nothing else that's important, because if it was important, Mike would have included that. So what I'll say now is that none of the roadmap updates were important because Mike presented none of them, but I tried to pull together a few. So here's from the Department of Daddy's credit card. Direct app purchases and invoice billing support in Teams Admin Center. So Teams admins will soon be able to purchase third-party app subscriptions worldwide directly in Teams Admin Center through the plans and pricing features. Payments methods, including invoice billing and credit card purchases. So essentially this allows, and this is being rolled out in early October, should be done in the month of October, but that admins will be able to purchase third-party applications directly through the Teams Admin Center worldwide. So they can buy that in advance. And so Teams then, if an organization knows that they want to deploy an application, they can go and they can purchase that for globally, a certain number of licenses, then deploy the licenses out there. So there's not this kind of janky process where they have to go out to AppSource or some other outside the system, and it's multi-step, and then somebody's paying with their own credit card. The admin can do that centrally. So that's convenient. So this is something that if you're not aware of it, if your admins are not aware of it, then let them know that this is forthcoming.
Anecdotally,
yeah.
Do we know that many people are using third-party apps in Teams?
I don't have the data right here in front of me, but if I had the data in front of me, I would still tell you I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. Microsoft is putting a lot of emphasis on partners, on ISVs, around getting solutions. In fact, I just this week had a conversation with some of my Microsoft counterparts to let them know, like, I wasn't even sure, like, what we had. We have in our co-sell programs. These are, products that we, as the name suggests, co-selling with Microsoft to work with them on. We have 20 solutions. AvePoint has 20 solutions. One of those 20 is in the marketplace. So it's a transactable product that you could purchase, and that's the cloud backup, where you could go and purchase it, point it to your tenant, and auto-configure it, and it just starts running on your environment without, going through the rest of the sales process. So Microsoft would love partners to have more solutions up inside of the marketplace, so that they could do exactly that scenario. They can point people, they could refer sales to, and they're actually incentivizing Microsoft, their own salespeople, to sell more of the marketplace solutions. So
I've got to wonder if it's going to be like the SharePoint app marketplace part 2, because of course that launched with 2013. The developer model and way of publishing apps took a few years to bake, but that's technically a fully mature system, and I really don't know many folks who have used it. And that's just me personally.
Yeah.
So I'd really be curious to understand if Teams is having any more luck with it.
Well, I think along with that, so besides working with ISVs on moving solutions, becoming transactable solutions available to the marketplace, they're also incentivizing partners to develop. So they're actually funding or co-funding development of apps and solutions that are industry specific. So they're really trying to beef up the marketplace in that model, which you think about it from a software development standpoint. There are some people consume via the direct model, some through indirect and through like MSPs. So you wouldn't go to a company like AvePoint and actually purchase. You have your MSP or hoster that provides solutions and be like, hey, we need cloud backup, and they're a partner of ours, and they say, well, we utilize here. Let's just flip the switch and turn it on and start going. And likewise, you could go to the Microsoft marketplace and do the same thing. You have this a la carte menu of very different products and solutions. So the potential is to reach more customers, so it makes sense to do, but there's development effort behind that because it's a very different distribution model and has some limitations. So,
sure.
Anywho, all right, from the Department of Big Brother, but the good Big Brother, so the good side of it, I know. Microsoft Teams real-time data for Teams meetings in Teams Admin Center. And so this is a preview that's out there. So this new preview release.
You say Teams again?
Yes, Teams, the real-time Teams. I know. It's the real-time data for Teams meetings in Teams Admin Center, which is part of Microsoft Teams, Sean, if you didn't know that. This new release, the preview of real-time telemetry. Everybody drink now. I said the word telemetry. That's part of the drinking game. For admins will help you identify issues during a Teams meeting. So let me just clarify. If you're having a Teams meeting, there will be administrative issues.
Goodness.
We joke because we love. That's right.
We've joked
right.
because we've encountered this before.
That's it. Today.
Yeah,
Twice.
It almost reminds me of the first DSL router. Cincinnati Bell was one of the early adopters of ADSL, and they were handing out Cisco 675 DSL routers, which were fully programmable and everything.
Yeah.
Well, there were firmware updates that came to the router. Guess how they were distributed?
But by discs that were mailed?
No, they should have been. They were instead distributed through your bit stream from the company. And as a result, one of the problems they were trying to fix was sudden drops in connection. So dropping in the middle of a firmware update, Cincinnati Bell ended up getting hundreds, if not thousands, of DSL routers returned to them bricked.
Yeah.
So somebody else could go out and fix them.
That's shocking. And also thank you for bringing a telemetry relate or a telecommunications related issue talking about DSL. And so anything telephony, telecom related, for those that have been watching our show for a while, know that it's one of our favorite things to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think Mark Rackley still relies on DSL technology out in BFE, Arkansas. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what they got.
There's that one person. Yeah. Excellent. So what's great about this feature, let's getting back to the topic at hand here.
Oh, yeah, we had a topic.
So you will be able to identify, detect, and troubleshoot transient network-related issues that impact users' audio, video, and screen sharing quality and experience during a meeting. So I mean, hey, so that's fantastic. So it's not just this unknown thing happening that we're going to be able to get, outbound and inbound audio statistics, video statistics, and sharing data as well. So very cool. So you can go into search on a person, or you can click on the participants list to be able to get to that data of what's happening if somebody's complaining of those issues. So that's exciting. So that is rolling out this month, I believe. Yeah. So that's
All
happening.
joking aside, I see that as being
Yeah.
exceptionally useful,
Yeah.
especially if you can get people's, bit rate at the time being dedicated to audio and video, and what sort of percentage of packet drops you get and things like that. That
Yep.
could potentially help a lot.
That's great, so we'll have to see again. We'll have to look at the stats to see if that will decrease the number of times that somebody makes a statement like I did twice today of try shutting it off and back on again, which is rejoining. I mean, Hal, it happened at the beginning, the start of this in our pre-setup.
Yes, it did.
So
It always happens to Hal.
yeah,
He's the lucky winner every time.
Yeah, well, it's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it.
that's right.
Thanks for taking one for the team, Hal.
Yeah, yay, Hal. From the Department of Apps that will definitely distract drivers, from Microsoft Forms, the new mobile-friendly experience for form creation and analysis, because that's when I like to create my forms is while driving on my mobile device. So, yes. So form designers who create forms and analyze results from mobile will now have a much more mobile-friendly experience that is optimized for their device, making forms even easier to use. So it's, yeah. So the rollout begins for the web in early October. For Android and iOS apps, it's mid-November, but everything should be completed by late November. I have never thought about creating a form on my mobile device. That's generally an activity where I want to have the larger screen to go and work from. But now that
I think you've aged out of that crowd.
yeah,
It's just a hunch.
I think so. But once the feature's available, I'm fairly confident that I will still not use it. So, but don't quote me on that. But that's where I'm leaning today. Okay, so here we are. Here's another age out joke. From the Department of All Your Base Are Belong to Us. Yes. Thought you'd appreciate that one. Microsoft 365 Information Governance announcing general availability of retention policies for Teams private channels. So that was some of the concerns around the private channels and it being kind of outside of some of the norms for the management for governance of that. So having the retention policies specifically for that. So the update, Message Center update, we are excited to announce that retention policies for Teams private channels messages are now generally available. And so it's out there now, people. There's no waiting till end of November to create your retention policies in Teams via your mobile device. No stretching it out there, getting you excited, jazzed about creating your live forms while driving on your phone. Nothing like that. No, you get it now. Instant gratification for this feature. It's there. So you administrators can now create Teams private channel messages retention policies from the information governance solution in the Compliance Center. So go take a look. If that tickles your fancy, it's out there now, people. I like this too. What you need to do to prepare. No action is needed to receive this feature. It's just there, people. If you don't like the feature and you want to send it back, write a firmly worded letter to your congressman, reach out to Microsoft, let them know. All right. From the Department of Features That Belong in the 1990s, new feature. Sean disappeared, and I thought you'd be very excited about this one if you're still listening, because it's SharePoint related. It's a new feature, improvements to the text web part for SharePoint pages and news. Sean, did you know that there was innovation happening regarding text-based web parts?
I can honestly say I did not.
So here's what it is. The summary. We're adding the ability to paste inline images into the text web part so that images can be closer to text and so that they can wrap around images. I just need to... Boom. We're also addressing feedback to reduce line spacing in text. So the rollout to targeted release coming in mid to late September and should be completed by early October. So, I mean, this is one of those little things too, with trying to go in and, with the look and feel of the environment. And formerly, past life, I'm not using SharePoint on day-to-day as much as I was. But some of the formatting restrictions and it just looking SharePointy and trying to make it look good. So now being able to go in and drop in images and add the description to the image, the title of that, and then wrapping tightly the text around that is a great thing for look and feel.
It'll be interesting to actually see that in action. I know Modern fixes a lot of that.
Yep.
But it'll be interesting to see how this manifests and actually gets used. It makes me think of some of the other, whether it's JavaScript-based RTF controls that you can drop onto a page that are often used in other products and by developers to give text editing capabilities, rich text formatting capabilities to their text streams. So it sounds like Microsoft's moving the core control set slightly in that direction with this.
Yeah, I don't know what else is happening around that space because I've not been watching kind of the look and feel side of things for a couple of years now with SharePoint. But I mean, this was something I cared about like 4 or 5 years ago. So
yeah, the 90s called. They want their cutting edge feature back.
That's right. That's exactly. That was you heard the name of my. It's from the Department of Features That Belong in the 1990s. So
yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. All right. So the last one that I have, it's the last one from the Department of World Domination. So you better get on board now. Is insights into Microsoft 365 to become part of Microsoft Viva. So I saw that Daryl and Daniel did a video on the topic, and it's part of the expansion of Microsoft Viva. So here's the description. So in the coming months, personal productivity and well-being insights that are currently available to users via the daily briefing email, My Analytics Digest email, and Insights Outlook add-in will be updated to reflect the Microsoft Viva brand. So Viva, of course, is a new employee experience platform that empowers people and teams to be their best from anywhere. Powered by Microsoft 365 and experienced in the flow of work, more catchphrases there, through Microsoft Teams and Outlook. Microsoft Viva brings together communication, knowledge, learning, resources, and insights. So the rollout begins in September for targeted release and should be done by the end of November. And there's, this is one of those things. What are your thoughts, this panel of Microsoft Viva? Oh, Neil, you go last because, you've got to toe the party line, or else I'm telling on you.
I'll be completely honest and say I've not tried it. I've seen videos of it. I've not seen it actually demoed live. It's really kind of a non-event for me. But then again, I do a lot of work with Akumina, who has their own digital hub, digital workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So, the organizations I'm working with naturally are going to be disinclined to use Viva based on what I know of it. So that's where I'm at.
Yep. Hal, any thoughts on that, on Viva in general?
It's still not something for small organizations.
Yeah. It's the hardest part.
That's kind of a shame. Because a lot of what I deal with are small organizations, 5 to 100 people, and
Yeah.
it's too big for them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting with Microsoft focusing so much on expansion of SMC, so the small to medium-sized corporations, and really getting moving away from, well, not that they're moving away from enterprise, but they see that the long tail of growth and any AvePoint that we have that same focus is the long tail. The growth potential is coming from the SMC. That they would address some of those things and have scenarios of what this looks like for a smaller organization. But it's still relatively new, and people are figuring out, what it is and what it means. Neil, anything to add? What are your personal thoughts on Viva and kind of the story behind it? Maybe in a non-muted way.
Can't unmute.
There you go.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, my headset problems. I think I like Hal's point about Viva and larger organizations. I think if you consider the signals that Viva uses to kind of build that experience, that kind of working kind of paradigm picture, if you like, of your working connections and all of the things that you do and connected with, you kind of need a larger organization to really experience it and get kind of a real richness from it. I use it, obviously, working for Microsoft, it's kind of present in all of our working lives right now. But it is, I think, to the point of, a smaller organization probably don't have the same kind of levels of structure around document management, information architecture, all the kind of signals and things that would produce a very rich, useful Viva experience. So I know there's more projects going on behind the scenes to kind of unearth that data automatically and make things more, I say automatic, whatever you want to call it, but it is, and I agree, for that point, I love it personally. It works very, very well for me. But I have the benefit of being in such an organization that can really, really benefit from it.
Well, because I think so much, and I know that there's a lot more to come. There's been no announcements. We don't know as MVPs and RDs, like any more information about the future roadmap and other offerings through the Viva branding. But this has always been, and so I got it back in the late 90s. I was involved in project and portfolio management and found my way into knowledge management. And so much around what was interesting about the potential of project and portfolio management, and then getting in the knowledge aspect and all the information management surrounding that side of it, was starting really to dig in and look at the analytics of the patterns of behavior of usage of the technology. That's what attracted me initially into the SharePoint space, was less the capture of documents, of artifacts within a repository. That's the easy part. It's then actually, what are we learning from this? How can we, if our goal of a company is to produce 100 widgets a month, what will it take for us to produce 150 widgets a month, 200 widgets a month? What can we learn about our product development process from the kind of envisioning, inception through to delivery and post-delivery to get better, to optimize that process, that activity? We need to, inherently we know that collaboration is good, but actually to put data points around that and show where along our product or service lifecycle where we can go and improve, and do it in a way that's also keeping in mind, the health and well-being of our employees, because you can't just double people's hours and produce more and then burn everybody else and then lose your workforce. So you have to do it in a smart and employee-centric, a user-centric view of the world. So that's where I look at Viva as starting to look at not just what we're doing, but how we're doing it. And if we can improve on how we're doing it while optimizing for productivity and efficiencies and all those other things. Hopefully that makes sense, but it's I don't have a prepared elevator pitch for Microsoft Viva, but that's how I look at this space. So, and Shari, welcome late. And for those that don't know Shari Oswald, Microsoft Certified Trainer, Microsoft Office Master, and co-founder for Power Up Learning in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Hello.
Hello, I'm actually in Boise, and the challenges of working from the hotel, the office.
Yes, excellent.
Sorry, I'm a little tardy.
Welcome from Boise. I remember I saw that you were on the road. Is that for work or vacation?
It's work, and yeah, it's work. Rentals and a project that I'm working on. My parents happen to just move here, so.
Oh, excellent.
It's for work.
Well, it's a beautiful area. I've my grandparents used to live there. I've driven through many times, but all right. Well, let's jump in. That was the Message Center updates. Hopefully, I did Mike Nelson justice there, who usually handles those with my fake department names there, but. I thought I had a win with all our base are belong to us, all your base. Yeah, so that one. All right, so with that, let's jump into the community questions. So I'm looking again for those that are following and see a couple comments. But if you're following on Facebook or YouTube, so please, if you have questions, let us know. Otherwise, we're going to go through the questions that we have already captured. So with that, there it is. All right, let's jump into question number 1. Stephen asks, how do I get users' Office 365 profile pictures to sync with SharePoint?
Well, you start by lighting a candle, sacrificing a chicken, and uttering the dark words of worship. I posted a link in the chat window here. There is an article Microsoft has had for quite a while, and I've had conversations with people at Microsoft. I also talked with Chris Johnson at Hyperfish, and they've got a product that, it's all about keeping Azure AD up to date and things like that. And I was working with an organization having trouble getting profile pictures to synchronize consistently. And everything I experienced and everything I heard from Chris basically said, this article describes the way it's supposed to work, and sometimes it doesn't. So people, write PowerShell scripts in the link I supplied. You can see that it's anything but a simple procedure, and there's multiple points of interaction. So I wish I could tell you a foolproof way to do it, but I can't.
Yeah, and I'll have for anybody that's watching, and so the links. So I'll actually have a blog post up later today, which will have embedded the entire recording. So this captured over on YouTube, and I will go through and I'll timestamp every question that was asked and provide any relevant links. So I'll grab that from our Teams chat and provide that within the blog post. So thank you for that, Sean.
Throw in a couple links to Amazon for chickens and candles.
That's nice. Make it convenient. We try to be a one-stop shop for solving those problems. So, well, excellent. All right. Well, question number 2, Kenji asks, is it possible to forward or redirect all the personal Skype messages and contacts to have them in Microsoft Teams? I'm not using it as business, just as a person, non-commercial use. I just want to consolidate my communication tools and reduce places to see. So that's, I know that there was integration with the Skype for Business.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that there's any integration or path for migrating over from the Skype for Consumer. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Certainly not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I'm in the same
You can
boat as you.
export your contacts, but you can't import them.
Yeah. So
What I research, you can export them, you can't import them.
okay.
Right.
So, yeah. So you can export,
Any
but
video.
there's no way to do that over on the team side. Import them back in.
Right.
That seems like an oversight. Yeah. I don't know if
It's a
there's
feature opportunity.
Yeah, that's right. It's not. Yeah, it's not a mistake. It's not an oversight. It's an opportunity, people. It's an opportunity for Microsoft or a partner out there to go and do. But yeah, so that's surprising. What I don't know is if any third-party solutions answer that today. I don't know.
There is an article about importing it into Outlook, and that would synchronize with Teams. But my experience is that Teams and Outlook contacts don't really. There's not a connection there. Is that just me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, about the connection between Outlook and Teams. Yeah, I don't know. Not played with that. So I'd have to go and look for content. So not that we're aware of, but yeah, that was that slow and painful manual process to move those contacts over to consolidate. So yeah, I mean, I still have a lot of people that I still have, the Skype consumer app, and have a lot of contacts that are, personal, not work related. Anybody that's work related made that move, a while back, but all those friends and family. Occasionally, I'll get a call via that. So, I used to use that fairly extensively, especially while traveling. It was, the Skype consumer app was one of those things where, like, I'd be in an airport somewhere in the world. I remember sitting down in Auckland at the airport, and I couldn't for the life of me get a connection to pull down email. I was trying to review something, and I had, the Wi-Fi was just terrible. I didn't have a, international connection. I don't know what it was. I think I might have been on a different carrier at the time, but it just wouldn't work. But two things connected. Skype consumer worked. And so I was able to make phone calls via the crappy Wi-Fi and my non-international phone plan via that. And the other thing that worked was Facebook Messenger, unfortunately. But that was, that was the, those kinds of tools are fantastic for that. When I was in China, it was the WeChat that worked no matter what. And then, of course, all your conversations are recorded and captured and sold off.
And then there's
That's what I hear.
WhatsApp. That was
Yeah.
the one.
And
that used to
WhatsApp as
work
well.
too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the deal with the devil that those
Great.
providers made, where it is able to grab hold of the weakest Wi-Fi link that's out there, or sell 1 bar, half a bar, and it works. It's fantastic.
I used it to communicate and say hi to my kids at dinner time before they went to sleep a lot when, speaking it on the road. So
Yep.
Skype's got a long history,
Yep.
at least with me.
All right, question number 3 is a SharePoint one. See, I loaded up on the SharePoint with, I knew Mike wasn't going to be here to complain about all the SharePoint questions, but Killian asks, we are on SharePoint Server 2019. I just noticed that site analytics under layouts is empty on every site I checked, both presentation and team site templates. I figured those would work without any additional features or config. Am I missing something?
Well, you've got to actually collect the analytics, and I don't think that's established by default. I might be wrong. It's been a while since I've set up an on-prem environment, but I recall having to build that service application as part of. Help me out here, Neil.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm trying to do a quick look to see if there's an easy document that can provide the answer. But I'm pretty sure that you have to switch the thing on.
Yeah, it's not right. It wouldn't be on by default. You'd have
No,
to go
because
and
it
actually.
goes against your site collection quotas.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything, you have to turn it on, so then it starts building the analytics, capturing the data from that standpoint. And then there's a cost as it builds that up and stores that data. So that's why it's not on by default.
did find a link for viewing and configuring usage analytics reports, and it goes through. I see some PowerShell. Looks like it configures the.
It's a subset of the search engine, basically.
Yeah, so that's something, Killian, if there's, you know, and obviously we can't follow up on this. This is a question that was posted, so we don't have any other details here. But, you know, if it was turned on, if you did the configuration and it's not showing, that's a completely different thing. You know, that's a completely different problem.
And Christian would recommend, have you tried turning it off and on again?
That's right. Generally. Well, my other guidance that I tell, it's for any ailment to the human body, which is walk it off. So yeah,
That's coach's advice. Walk it off.
well, that's what I do. Run a lap. You know, do some push-ups. Like you'll be just fine. So yeah.
My kids will tell you my dad or my husband would tell them or their dad would tell them rub some dirt on it.
Yeah. Well,
Rub some dirt on it.
my snarky answer actually came from my my paternal grandmother, who I loved. She cussed like a sailor, and chain smoked for years and years and years, and was told that she either needed to stop smoking or she'd die in like 2 years, 3 years. She stopped smoking and lived for like 20 years longer. But she would always bring up the fact that she had, you know, what she got through the scare and whatever. And I would, and joking with her, and I always just tell her, it's like, well, you should walk it off. And, yeah. So that just became kind of my running joke, you know. So, all right. All right, so the next question, FIO, question 4. Can anyone guide me, how can I use SharePoint as an IT ticketing system?
Can we bring back the Fab 40? Come on.
I know.
I was
No.
hoping no one would go there. Just because you can use it as an IT ticketing system doesn't really mean you should. That's, you know, generally speaking, you're going to have to, you'll spend as much time developing something as potentially spending the bucks to buy something developed.
And the cost of supporting that thing and keeping it, you know, up to date. I'm not aware of, you know, we're joking about like depending on the version, you know, the old Fab 40. There have to be some examples of somebody built and then shared some guidance on building it for Office 365. So that's something.
Let me check something while you're talking.
Yeah. Sean is stepping
Here's
into
the
his
blog post
documentation vault there to pull out the
dust off.
tomes, the knowledge of the SharePoint wizards that are behind the scenes. Yeah, sorry, Sherry, go ahead.
The writ of common knowledge.
Yes.
There's a blog post from Concurrency from 2019. There's another one from SharePoint Maven. If you just go out and Bing it, you know, do a Bing search. There's like SharePoint Maven is from 2017, so it's not really up to date. That one's from 2019, might be a little bit better. So
Where I was going, Christian, was you and Brian Jackett and Jennifer Mason did that 6-in-1 book.
Yeah.
Were one of the examples an IT tracking system or a tracking system?
I don't remember if it was an IT tracking system or like an asset management solution, but I don't know. That was for a SharePoint 2010 book. I have it somewhere.
Are you saying it's aged content?
There's a picture of the cover on my wall that's in a frame. Yeah. Hang on.
Oh boy,
now Christian's going into his vault.
created a monster.
Theodoric of York. The writ of common wisdom.
Ah, yes.
I think I actually have that book. I don't think that I ever noticed that
I'll
your
just-
name was on the cover.
I'll just leave it there on my desk in case there are any follow-up, if it's relevant to share that again. But
Yeah. Christian was-
you can still purchase that via Amazon. It's still available out there if you're looking for the latest SharePoint 2010 guidance on building solutions.
or maybe half-price books.
Yes. Or pay the full price. Either way, I was like, doesn't matter to me. Yeah. So the guidance would be FIO. I think from all of our joking around the topic is that if you have a solution like this, it's worthwhile to buy a best of class ticketing system rather than building something in SharePoint. If you do not have the budget out there for that, again, you can, I'm sure, find some guidance for whatever version of SharePoint that you have. I mean, because we don't have that information here with the question. But it's been done on every on-prem instance, and I'm sure that there are some examples for SharePoint Online as well. So you're welcome for that non-answer.
Well, I think
yeah.
somebody said, it really just hit on the head. Just because you can develop it, it's going to cost you more to create something that's already exists in another space. I mean, Microsoft can't fix it all, but unless there's a business need to have it completely integrated into SharePoint, there's no reason to invest that kind of money.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I spent more time in days gone by convincing people that a particular solution didn't belong in SharePoint and being built that way. And, a great acid test, real simple, is anything that requires true referential integrity and primary key, foreign key relationships has got no business being in SharePoint. SharePoint's not an RDBMS.
Microsoft has been trying to move the messaging around SharePoint away from the SharePoint is a Swiss Army knife like solution, build anything around it. That's not what it's there. It is an intranet solution first and foremost, and provides the core functionality, the infrastructure capabilities for the Microsoft 365 stack. So anything beyond that, you can, but you shouldn't. So.
Well, low-hanging fruit, you could use the list template for issue tracking.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, there are some out-of-the-box capabilities to go and do, but if you're trying to build a full-fledged IT ticketing system, it's not recommended. So, all right. Question 5. Sorry, I no idea how to pronounce that with my accent. I have a problem with an Excel workbook, which was working fine for quite some time. It recently started getting slow in updating data and gives an error message which says, working on it, still working on it, and finally an error message after a minute or two which says the request took too long or will just keep spinning. It's co-authored by multiple people.
Kind of feels like an authentication issue to the data. That's apparently he's linking to data in the spreadsheet.
This is
especially.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, especially if you've got multiple accounts.
Right.
There is your preferred account or the account you're using for operations can be changed and selected within each of the Office apps. So you might just want to check to make sure all of the connections are established and good, as well as if you've got the accounts added to Windows as well, double check that in your OS. But 9 times out of 10 with me, I get that with Word documents and Excel documents. Sometimes I don't link to external data generally, but anytime I get it trying to go and go and go again and then eventually stop, I've found block attaching or detaching, attaching an account, or somehow correcting credentials. That's just a gut feel.
For better or for worse, I mean, Microsoft has tried to do away with the ambiguous, technical sounding error messages. And one of the things that you've seen is just the spinning circle, the working on it message, which could be a number of issues around it. But I was just going to say the exact same thing, is that generally that means that it's trying to connect to a data source, and it's not reconciling that against your profile within your authentication. So, so that's just something to go and check. I know I have that issue occasionally, and to Sean's point, it's usually because of my multi-tenant issues. And so I'm having to be very, purposeful in checking to make sure that I'm where I'm logged into for which environment. And it's why I have multiple incognitos that are open into other environments, other tenants, just so that I don't run into those conflicts. I get a message I get all to one place. An email tells me, hey, you've got things updated. But then I look at, okay, which environment that is. And then rather than clicking on it and confusing the system about which one I'm trying to connect to and access to the data, the assets within that tenant, I just go to that incognito window where it's open.
Google Chrome profiles help with that a lot. I also dropped a link in the chat, and that's to the Microsoft Support and Recovery Assistant. If you try everything, discover you can't get any satisfaction, you never know. Throw another tool at it.
Well, the fact
there's
that
also-
there are multiple people that are co-authoring it, they could be a OneDrive sync issue too. I'm hitting that with stuff that I have in my Hotmail. It just doesn't seem to want to, like the whole thing just freezes and I have to shut the Excel spreadsheet down and open it up again. And then it's fine. It just stops working. So
I just thought of a sticker, a new sticker idea. Oh, sorry, Shari. We had a little delay.
That's okay, go ahead.
A little bit of delay in your. So I thought you were done. Sorry. I was just going to comment that Sean, that line that you just used, like I dropped a link in the chat. Like that needs to be on a sticker. I use that phrase so often, So I'm gonna create a new Sticker Mule sticker for that. I dropped a link in the chat, and I'll have some fun artwork with sticker. It. Yeah. That's going to be my next creation.
On this particular topic as well, I mean, the Excel spreadsheet refers to, data connections, so external data sources. So to Sean's point, authentication, timeouts, other things like that. It could just be that the data source at the back end there's so many changes happening. If you said it's multi-authored, all kinds of things going on. Perhaps what's it connected to? Is it connected to a back-end SQL? Is it connected to other workbooks? Is it connected to some other data source? It's that's timing out.
Yeah,
it's connected to the thingy, Neil.
The thingy.
One thing I'm going to clarify. I don't believe that that issue, I've not experienced at least anything related to the number of people that may be in there and co-authoring at that moment. Like the concurrent user issue should not cause that behavior.
It should not.
Right.
No.
So
I suspect it's the back end. And, to Sean's point, authentication, if it's an authentication issue, I'd expect that to probably have a problem with one or two users if they don't have the right level of access to the data sources, but not everybody, unless everybody doesn't have access. But it's a little bit long-winded. Maybe try it without co-authoring just to eliminate that scenario. There's a few things to try there before you can kind of hone in on a specific element.
Yeah, and to Neil's point as well, is it just you having the issue, or is everybody? Has it slowed down for everyone, and everyone's getting an error?
If I'm having the issue, Sean, it's a problem for everyone.
I don't doubt
That's
it.
another sticker for you right there.
Yeah. Well,
all about me.
Right?
That's right. Not that you're going to have the technical issue, just that you're going to hear about my issue. Yeah. All right. Question 6. Sergio says, I am an admin of my organization. I want to get access to everyone's OneDrive in a separate domain mail ID so I can track everyone's data.
Me. All right, you got to be careful with this one for a number of reasons. We had this scenario with migrations where organizations wanted to migrate from other cloud services to OneDrive, for example. Box to OneDrive, Google to OneDrive, FileShare to OneDrive. And obviously getting access to everyone's OneDrive is actually relatively straightforward. You can just add a secondary admin, right? And you can't add a secondary read-only access. That would have to be granted by the end user themselves. But as an admin on the tenant, you can grant any account admin rights to any OneDrive, on all OneDrives. Caution there, though, is data privacy. It's that person's OneDrive, so the company would need to, I would suggest the company, if they're going to go down this route, make sure that every person in the company is aware that the OneDrive is accessible by central resources and therefore may be monitored. Just from I'm sure there's some compliance regulations about you must notify people of that if they're going to go down that path. But it's very doable.
Is there any visibility for the admin in that scenario? Again, I look at it. It's like if it's a company asset, it's a company asset, and so private view and sensitivity of information, all those kinds of things. Like you do your corporate governance, I'll do mine, kind of thing. But let's say that a company does want to go and do that. Do they have any visibility into the size of data, maybe the data itself, in the personal vault? If I've enabled that, if I've created that space that's private, that's meant for that, is do they have visibility into that space?
I don't know out of the box, but I know ShareGate allows you to do like reporting on every site collection, and that's a site collection. So when I look at the Explorer, does it out of the box.
Yeah, I know that a lot of third-party tools provide that level of visibility in there as well. But it's so again, it's not a can. It's kind of based on Neil's comment. It's more of a how you approach that, and be careful, be aware of what the laws are within your state, country, region around proper access to that kind of that data.
Yeah, I think in Germany that will be a big no-no.
Yeah.
Because of their personal laws in terms of data privacy. And I do know, like I said, from my experience working with the migration teams on OneDrives in the Office 365 migration team, we were very aware that that customers realized that in order to perform OneDrive migrations, there was an element of required access to a OneDrive via a dedicated admin account. The customer managed it, but they had to notify their end users that these accounts were in use and have access to their data, albeit just temporarily.
And I go back to my HR days. If it's not work-related, don't put it in your work-related stuff.
There is that.
Yeah.
That's why you can have a personal OneDrive for free.
Yeah. Well, it's another reason why too is I have my work laptop, and it's work related. I gave my other laptop, my personal, to one of my boys. And so my wife says, "Hey, can you go up? Can you help us for, like, we want to live stream this or do something up on the TV upstairs?" I'm like, "Nope. I don't do anything personal on the work laptop. It's not a resource for these personal activities." So I'm even going, I realize I interact through multiple cloud environments. So I access work assets and systems through other tools, but always when there's a VPN in place. But I try to do the majority of that sensitive work always on the work-related device in the work-related environments, because it's exactly Shari's point, is that if I'm doing things, any data that's sorted, I look at it as a company asset.
I do much the same with VMs.
Yep. And I've had to they'll do an audit. Your company can do an audit on your machine and fire you. And I can tell you many stories how I know that. You don't want to know. Yeah. Yeah.
No, you say that you don't want to know, but now I want to know. But we talked about that offline. Yeah.
She'll have to kill you.
All right. Let's see. Question number 7. Oh, hey, I thought we answered this last month, but we did not. We had something that was similar to this. Jenny asked a question. So talking about Teams and the Teams EDU. Says, I've just discovered that my students working on iPads can't see my pinned posts. They don't have the same ability to view pinned posts that I do. Can someone point me in the right direction? Everything I read refers to chats, not posts. If it does refer to posts, it says they click on the information bubble to see the pinned post. Students don't have an information bubble on iPads as far as I can see. No wonder they think I'm weird when I tell them I pinned a post. Can anyone help? Can someone show me how they can see a pinned post on the iPad version of Teams? Anybody have experience with that?
And pinned posts personal. If I pin a post in my team chat with my peers in my small pod in our team, it pins to the top of my chat experience. They don't get it. They don't see it.
Seashell by the seashore.
That's
Sorry.
that's what I thought as well, Neil. I thought exactly that.
Yeah, so you can. I mean, there's a bunch of things. Obviously you can pin posts, you can save posts, you can
Right. Well, you can
do a
pin
number of things.
just like
But
you
it's a
could,
personal experience.
just like you can pin a channel, pin a team, so that you have it kind of prioritize the navigation as you join dozens of different teams and channels. It's a way
Yeah,
that you can self-organize, a personalization feature.
I think this experience, if you think about the scenario in other like social media or tech community style things, you know, for example, I think I'm still an admin on the SharePoint hybrid tech community forum thing, and we had a pinned post to the top of that forum saying this forum is specifically for questions on XYZ and blah, 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 so forth. And that post was pinned to the top for everybody. It wasn't a personal experience, it was a thread experience. And it's just like with Facebook, a Facebook group, right? You can create a group and you can pin an introductory post to the top.
My Twitter profile, I have pinned a tweet that I did that I want anybody goes and looks at my profile will see that right up at the top, because I want to leave it there as kind of a message for amount of time as people visit my profile. Dozens.
I think in the Teams experience, it's very much personal.
Yep.
Whether there is a plan to do maybe I'm an owner of a channel in a SharePoint, in a Teams team, and I want to have the option for the admin to pin something for everybody. Maybe that's a future thing. I don't know. Or maybe it's a current thing I just don't know about.
So I would argue that is kind of counter to the way that Teams is supposed to work. However, with the home site or now the Viva connections, the add-in, so being able to have the intranet view added into and available within Teams, there's your opportunity to go in and from that kind of content, from an intranet perspective, pinned so that it's there, that everybody's seeing it for the next 2 weeks, while it is a reminder that we have a town hall company-wide, an all-hands meeting coming up, and you can pin that to the top of the information, the news that they're reading there. But in Teams, you're right. I mean, it's personalized. I mean, I would get very annoyed if I've gone in and every time I go into the channel, it's a project that I'm working on, and I see one or more pinned posts there and have to move past it to see the information that I need. So it makes sense from that, but it's just a different environment than it is like more of a news feed type feature.
Yep.
So, okay.
I'm just testing, playing around with the feature now.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if I find anything out.
Okay. All right. So, Kasukirthi. There's a lot of space in OneDrive, more than enough, but it's showing that I need more storage. So that's a statement, not a question, but I would maybe rephrase it, but showing I need more storage and turn it into a question there. So if I have a lot of space in OneDrive, why is it showing that I need more storage?
What's a lot mean?
Yeah.
I have.
What are the thresholds for space warnings? Or,
yeah.
Is he talking about collectively as an admin for your organization? Is he talking personal? Lots of ways to interpret this.
I have literally dozens of KBs still available. Why is it sending me this error message? Yeah. So while it, I think we need more information around that question to be able to answer anything there. Unless anybody has something. Hal, anything? Okay.
Not on that one.
All right. Let's see. Question number 9. Tuyet says, "Hi everyone. Can someone explain to me why I can't watch participants' cams in Teams? I was having a class meeting, about 40 people, although we had turned on all our cameras, but I could not see the others. In the whole meeting, I just saw the host camera and one's more, but my friends could all watch all the participants. That's confusing me. I had searched for the problem and found that I have to change the mode to large gallery, but I could not find that mode. Can someone explain and help me, please? Thanks so much." So in Teams, in the view, again, if you've got somebody that's in there presenting, so they can change that view, and all you'll see is the slides, what they want you to go and see. But if you go up into the ellipses, that I'm doing here on screen, and you can see then where you have the different options there. So one of them, so I've got it now currently in the gallery mode. You also have the together mode, which is when you have, I don't know if there's a minimum now. It used to be that you had to have 5 or more, but I think they've decreased that. But we have 5 here. So now it looks like we're all sitting in a classroom, and if there's 40 people, this would back out and you'd see, all 40 of us there. And we used to do, remember the old days? We used to do the live stream via this look. Now, what I dislike about it is what it's doing to my head, and carving off on the sides here, making it look like just have a big egg sitting on the top of an egg with a toupee sitting on the top of a t-shirt. I don't like it. I'm going to turn it off.
I think that's
so, but that's where you go in and change the scenes. And where's the Star Trek one? I liked that one. There we go.
Well, while you're playing with the galleries, it sounds like if he's not seeing options that his friends were seeing, there might even be a Teams client issue there as well. Just a possibility.
Yeah, is that something? Is it available by default, or to be able to go in and look at these, change the views? Is there an admin setting to not enable that? I guess not enable, is that the same as disable? No. So enable is you not do something versus it's doing something and then you turn it off. Okay.
Something like that, I guess.
Yeah, let me check I'll go into my tenant admin.
Well, it looks like we lost Shari.
Yeah, well, I got a feeling she was on hotel Wi-Fi, which we all know is rock solid.
It's fantastic. That's right.
Yeah.
But that's where... to answer the basic question, that's where you'd find it. It's up in the ellipses. You go down, you see the gallery, you see the other views there. So, yeah, the presenter does have more control over what all of us see on screen. And if they're actively presenting something, they can take up all of the workspace, the viewing area with that. But, yeah, you can change from the gallery to the together mode to see everybody. And if you're not seeing together mode, so that's a question whether we can turn that on or off. It was that way for a while, but I'm just not sure if Microsoft went in there and made that generally available, and because it's only your view. So I can turn it into presentation mode and everybody else is in gallery and they'd see gallery and I'd be the only one seeing it. Of course, I'm live streaming my view, which is why I'm little up here in the corner. Anywho. All right. So let me know if you find something around that, but otherwise we'll jump to question number 10. Question 10, Sophie says, what is the best platform to use for managing a roster organized by department without using alphabetical order? So 55 departments. I tried Microsoft Lists, however, found out that I cannot add item rows or people to the middle of the list so they are organized under the correct department. I wish you could move the rows around like you can in Excel. I know that would defeat the purpose of the metadata, though. Any suggestions? Is Microsoft Lists not the best platform for this? So, Shari, if you missed the beginning of it, what's the best platform for use for managing a roster organized by department without using alphabetical order?
I think Microsoft Lists is good. They just need to know how to change the views. So you don't insert and sort like you do in an Excel spreadsheet. The view controls, sort by department, then sort by last name, then sort by first name. So it's the sort order in the view. So I put 2 links in the chat for that. One is Mark Cashman's video, and the other one is just the support article for creating views.
Yep. I think it's a pretty straightforward answer there, too. So Mark Cashman, if you don't know, Mark is with product marketing, one of the senior people there, and he owns large parts of SharePoint and Lists specifically.
Yep.
All right. Question 11. Simon, I am looking for Azure AD Connect for Server 2012 R2. Just can find 2016. Where can I download an older version? So is looking for black market, dark web help in finding old, no longer supported versions of Azure AD Connect.
I think I might be able to break out my old binder from the maps that has like 50,000 disks in it, and might be in there.
I don't think Azure AD connects in the old MSDN style subscriptions.
I'm looking it up and see if my Zune, if I had that version stored.
In your Zune?
In my Zune.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's an old. I don't believe it's supported.
I have a Maps subscription, and when and all the old stuff is there back to 2010. I mean, I don't know if that's. I've never looked for that specifically, but I would assume if front page is on there, probably.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Well, that's what I say that one, if you're looking for an official source for that, if it's no longer supported, it can be difficult to go and find that. But you can download products from the 1990s, Microsoft products, like find somebody that is hosting a version or made it available. They've got it available out on an FTP server somewhere, So there are generally options for the older stuff. So
Yeah, just be careful with the parting gifts that come with them.
correct.
Any of those downloads.
That's right.
So.
All right. Question number 12. Nikki says, how can I persuade MS Word to actually do a spell check on a document? So it somehow locks in some documents as already checked and good to go when it is not. Even if I copy and paste the entire doc to a new document, the spell checker does not find errors. It also happens with the merged document. Word just does not check spelling in a merged document even when I run a spell check manually using the F7 key. I have the same problem at work using Office 2016 or at home using Microsoft 365. Your sage advice might slice off some of my age. So why is Word...
I don't know.
Go.
I don't know why I wouldn't check it. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say the same thing. It's like if you go in and intentionally just add in and jumble a new word, is it not identifying that? Is it so that's a more fundamental problem than it thinks? Is there a language pack installed? I've seen that where words have a bunch of unnecessary U's in it, and I found out that it was the document that was sent over had the UK English assigned to it, so the word color had that useless U in it. Instead of color, it's just color. So that could cause that problem where it thinks that it's already checked it and it's not reviewing that because per its language or saved misspellings that you intentionally added in, it's not finding those. Did you find anything else? Any other ideas of why that might be happening?
Add it in the chat how to add a custom dictionary or to edit the dictionary that's there. So if there's words that they're...
It was me! So, anyway. Excellent. I have everything, all other services turned off, just Teams running. So, yeah.
Speaking of Teams, going back to the question we had, I found some settings for guest access policy where it allows people to turn on and off IP video, screen sharing mode, those sorts of things. But that's about the only thing. So was he logged was he actually a guest access in the meeting, or maybe that's the only thing I could find. I couldn't find an equivalent setting, but again, I just glanced through it. I am not a Teams admin. And that's in the Teams Admin Center within Microsoft 365 Admin Console.
Okay. And Neil, did you find something about AAD Connect? Are you muted?
I've got 3 versions from 2015 and 2016 on my installs drive. Every time I download something to install, I save it. I have a record going back to the 90s for everything that I've ever downloaded.
Yep.
So, but I don't know that that's.
So are you saying you're the dark web guy that has all that old stuff?
That's right.
I am the private network drive guy, but I have helped people before.
When you think about his full name as Sean Dark Web McDonough, now it makes sense. I never put those
all is revealed.
2 and 2 together. Yeah.
Nobody ever would.
Well, his shirt says it all. Did you show your shirt today?
That's right.
There you go.
Geek. That's right.
Truth in advertising.
My Teams keeps muting itself. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I don't know if you saw it. The last link in the chat window is to the root of all of the version history for AD Connect.
Okay.
And at the top of that document, there are 2 links. One to download the version 2, which is the one he doesn't want, and the one to download version 1.6, which is the version he does want.
Okay. So Simon, we're going to have the answer to that and the link to that. Share that out within the blog. So I'll provide the link.
We do not endorse, nor support, nor guarantee that link or what you make.
Also, to step back to the Teams pinning issue.
I'm showing.
Only works in the desktop application.
Okay. I was going to say, I've got the disclaimer back on screen now just for Sean's last comment. So pinning, pinning only works in the desktop application, but is it visible like for others?
Yes.
Okay.
No, on the mobile application, you don't see it.
So the mobile, is the iPad version of it must be on the mobile version. And
my friend can't see it on the iOS version for his iPhone.
So therefore, it's not going to be on the iPad.
Going to be same. Looks that way.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
I'm assuming that's temporary.
Yeah, I'd say that user voice or user voice replacement. We still don't have an update on that, do we? No, it's still just hanging out there. The dark cloud out there. What's happening with user voice? Just still go to user voice. Although the twice that I've gone out wanting to get to user voice, and then it was down for maintenance, extended maintenance. So, yeah. All right. Hello, Kmart shoppers. We have a special on aisle 12. I love those alerts that pop up. All right. Let's see. We've got 13 more minutes here. Pam says, I currently help admin a 2016 SharePoint site. We will soon be converting to either 365 or SharePoint Online. I've been tasked with figuring out which files are used the most. However, I can't find a report that has a user count or use count or a view count, but approximately 10,000 files. I can't go one by one and hover to see or view stats. Any suggestions on how I could figure this out?
Oh.
Is there out of the box? Because ShareGate does that. There's a report for that.
Yeah.
Like the most used.
Tygraph does that. Again, most of the admin third-party tools provide the reporting that does that. Tygraph reports that. So there's a lot of partner solutions that do exactly that.
Yeah, and it's not too hard to write some PowerShell to comb through things and look at the last modified date. There is no last access date on document libraries. Last modified date is the closest analog you'll get to it. But that can be done with a little PowerShell.
Yeah, there's You know, and there's a lot of people have written about and talked about how to go and build these kinds of analytics around their content. So I think you can spend some time doing an online search and find somebody that walks through and explains how you can find that and do that. Because this is because this kind of goes back in my experience doing pre-migration analysis. So I was part of the team. We developed the first pre-migration analysis tool in the whole migration space. So back in 2010, we launched that. That was actually with Echo before we got acquired by Exceller, but built a solution there. But now, most of the migration solutions have that kind of content analysis. So you have a better idea of what it is that needs to be moved, and you can prioritize what's moved and when. So, but take a look, people, and if you go out there and do some searching on this topic, a number of people have written about this, but then take a look at the third-party migration administration tools, because usage analytics around content is a fairly common thing from the partner community.
I was going to say, that makes me think, doesn't the SMAT tool, Neil, do some of that? SharePoint.
I don't think it does. It doesn't do individuals paid documents, so it just does item counts in lists, because that's the thing we care about the most. We move a list object as a unique discrete item. We don't go down to document level.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I just pasted a link in the chat. That might only be relevant to SharePoint Online, I'm not sure. But there's the concept of popular items and popularity trends, which does have that link. It's on the ribbon. It gives you an Excel chart, Excel dump of all of the content of the site or the library. I'm not sure if it's in all the versions on-prem, though. That's my only caveat to that one.
Can I say that I am happy to see somebody that is preparing for a migration by really trying to understand what's there and what needs to be moved? That just it puts it's a warm, fuzzy feeling in my heart that people are actually thinking about it versus the lift and shift, and they're just trying to, and then dealing with the repercussions from that. When if you go in there and prioritize, you can really cut down on the amount of grief that you experience and the issues. If you actually do that prioritization, you'll likely find a ton of your content that you do not need to move. And
nobody needs the vacation calendar for 2003.
Yeah.
First two bullets in the CAF framework: plan and strategy.
Yep. All right. Question number 14 from Rob. Hi, everyone. Looking at setting up a Teams webinar. Do I need any additional licenses? Can we upload the email address via a spreadsheet into Teams webinar to undertake the invites? Would this also impact in the company's Teams? For example, slowing down while the webinar for 500 is operating. First thing I would say from a performance standpoint, and I think some others made similar comments over in Facebook in the Teams community, that no, because it's a cloud-based platform and it's set up for that, like any performance hit is scaled by the fact that it's out in the cloud. If you were hosting this yourself on your servers, then you would have that performance hit. I'd say that will not cause performance issues and impact the Team's experience. Not to say that there aren't other things that might.
I was going to say one of the few.
Yeah. But as far as additional licenses for to do the Teams webinar, so it's the Teams Live versus Teams meetings, and needing additional licenses for that. So. A webinar, so you can have that where it's so I don't know the state of it, because I'm not an active Windows or Teams Live user, so I don't know what's changed over the last 6 to 12 months, because I do everything within Teams meetings like this, and if I want to broadcast something that's out there, we do it via live. So I'm using Streamlabs OBS, just capturing a Teams meeting. So I don't know if anybody speak to that of what's happening with Teams Live and whether there are additional licenses there. Can you invite in anonymous participants there? Do they have to have Teams? I mean, I don't know where the state of things are over on that side because I've not been paying attention.
Is it a Teams Live, or they do now have the Teams webinar?
Oh, is it Teams webinar? Yeah, so I'm not using that either.
The only difference between that and a Teams meeting is they have to register. But there's no limit to how many people can register. So that's why I won't use it, because I want people to register for a class, but I don't want 200 people registering for, it's supposed to be 20, whatever. But it's in the works, but it's not a webinar platform, in my opinion.
Yeah, so that's something I need to go and explore a bit more on that. Yeah, because I'm just not familiar with it. I saw the things come through, just kind of I'm not using it. That's the benefit of going from being an independent to working for a large company that has, I'm doing 2 webinars this month. Like, I show up and present and talk, and it will run beautifully because other people are doing it that are skilled in those skills.
You could just stop at skilled.
Yeah, they're skilled. In skills, but it's skills with a Z, so it has more of an edge than normal skills. They got skills. I know. All right.
Oh boy.
So maybe that's something I'm going to take as homework next month and probably do a blog post before that. All right. So we've got time for one, maybe 2 more questions here. Number 15, Mark. Hi, I figured out how to have a live Excel for responses with forms. For responses with forms, I have to create the form via my OneDrive, but I want to store that live Excel in SharePoint via a link and not on my own OneDrive. When I moved the file, it seemed to break it. Can SharePoint not read this type of file? Help please, as I need to store dozens of forms with data in a central place.
Good one. So forms to SharePoint only works on group connected sites. Forms to Excel, sorry, only works on group connected sites. And if I remember correctly, there's a survey app somewhere as well. I think I read the other day that in SharePoint, the concept of the new lists is kind of a new one for me. I've not really played around with it much, but I think there's a survey app you can use as a form that'll dump the item directly in a list if it doesn't want to use Excel. It's a couple of options. But they're obviously moving the Excel spreadsheet from OneDrive to a SharePoint will definitely break it because the form don't have a clue where to send the data anymore.
Right. So if you're trying to consolidate and have that centralized location, and then you're moving things, well, one, it's always, you're always going to have problems when you're moving things. But if you're trying to maintain a connection that might be from a not on your OneDrive for the creation of these different pieces. I know there's moving parts there. What did you share there, Shari? Is that
Teams webinar?
It puts it in your OneDrive. But if you create it from the team as a tab, then it creates it as a group enabled form. You move it from your OneDrive to the it's a different URL. It's a different GUID.
Yeah, sure.
Permissions boundary.
Yeah.
And it may not connect that.
Yeah. Yeah, Shari, you broke up a lot there, but
So,
yeah, I think that you were making the same point that if you go in and when you create it, it has those links there. Just by the process of moving it, will break that link, and so there's different. As Sean was starting to say, there's different permission types for in those different environments, and so yeah, I get the idea of like having a centralized location for the content, for the data that it's capturing, that it's utilizing, but that's kind of not the way the solutions work to be able to do that, especially. So it's very sensitive to the moving and the links that it embeds, the permanent links that it includes there, and the type of environment, whether it's open and you're able to share from within that environment. But if you go and create it from anew, and as you were saying, create it within Teams, and then invite guests in, they should be able to access that. But it's going to create the link to the data source that's relevant to that team, that connected group.
Yeah, there's a ages-old problem of trying to store survey data and multiple responses from different people in SharePoint, because you're looking at, you've basically got to open it up to the equivalent of anonymous access, which is now hard because people, everybody's got to be authenticated going into that environment. So at least when you share across from Teams or you share across from OneDrive, you're explicitly granting people access to that file, and that's what gets around it. The way to do it in SharePoint is actually to set up some.
All right. One last question, if we've got time. I just want to do this because it's a friendly. Former coworker and good friend Melinda Morales, who is goth girl, who's up in the UK somewhere working for Dyson. So, always like to give Melinda a hard time about whatever she's asking about. So let's see what we can do here. So she says, we use animated GIFs in hero web parts in many of our intranet landing pages, but recently the GIFs have stopped playing. And so my first response is, were they sad GIFs? Were they just sad at their existence, that they're animated GIFs within an intranet and it's just wrong? And so they, out of shame, they stopped. So she says,
GIFs don't stop working because they, aren't. Never mind.
Yeah, GIFs play. So she says, I'll continue. I'll stop with the humor and continue. GIFs play when inserted into a page through any other means, just no longer the hero web part. Specifically, if the hero web part section is linking out to another page. Just curious if anyone has seen this behavior recently. And she spelled behavior with a useless U. Look at that. She is just sucked into the UK language, and she's an American that's living abroad. I don't recognize her anymore because of her usage, the wild usage of U's. It's just
We're all try and help her in the last 20 seconds we've got, or are you just going to berate her?
No, go ahead. So thoughts on that hero web part?
Well, I mean, GIFs will play in any web browser by themselves, so I don't know what the hero web part specifically does. I don't think it iframes or anything like that, but
some GIFs have a timer on them though, right? They run so many times and they stop. Where's that managed by? Is that managed by the app you embedded the GIF in, or is it managed by the GIF itself?
The time delays between frames are stored in the GIF itself, and then it's up to the container to cycle through them at the rate specified. So
is there some other attribute of the hero web part that might be then limiting that?
I'm just wondering if there's something on the lines of, when it's linked out to another page, is it pulling content from another page, or is it just a embedded link? Is the GIF somehow seemingly playing at like record neck-breaking speed and stopping like goes to the web part does something else? That's the kind of path I'm thinking of. Can it do two things at once? I don't know enough about it.
I do know that containers that can't actually cycle through each of the frames oftentimes will just use the first frame and won't move past that. So, but if it worked before in the hero web part, I'm not sure what might have changed with that.
Does it work in the hero web part still without embedding pulling content externally?
It's a good question.
Without the link to the other page.
And it could be, this is again a follow-up question. I'll ask Melinda for follow-up this, but whether adding the animated GIFs was a new thing and they're just experiencing that. If it had been working and then something else changed around that, that would be a great follow-up question to understand. Like, had they been working flawlessly and then some other change happened?
Yeah, Melinda, everybody's using Shockwave Flash these days, so get with the program.
That's right. All right. It just makes me instantly we're intranet side.
Looking for a support group.
Support group for shame-filled GIFs. So
The first thing I thought of was that's too much. That's too much. Like, why are we putting animated GIFs in the hero web?
Oh, it's too much. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, hey, I know we're at the end of the of our time here. So thanks so much to Sean, Neil, Shari, and Hal for joining. And of course, we'll be back on the second Wednesday. So look for this. In the meantime, so we are trying to launch a new kind of series, a vlog series where we're answering individual questions for small short form videos. So look for some of those in the coming month. But in the meantime, feel free to reach out to any one of us. You respond to wherever you see the video, YouTube or Facebook, or share it out via the social channels. And we do answer questions in between our AMAs. But we're happy to, if you have a big, hairy, scary question that you don't seem to get an answer from, we would love to attempt to solve that for you, talk through it. So please let us know and we'll add it to next month's content. And
We'll answer questions for food.
yes. And with that, thank you so much to everybody. And we'll fade out to, I don't know what song it's on now, but we'll jump back into the music and fade out into oblivion, right? So here we
Thanks,
go.
Christian.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.